Kamala didn't need Tim Walz to hold her hand this time because she had two biased ABC moderators instead. Trump called it what it was, a 3-on-1 debate. From fact-checking Trump 4 times and Kamala never once to a monologue about abortion, this was the most biased moderation of a presidential debate of all time.
The US presidential debate was touted as being between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. But many commentators are saying the real debate was Trump v. Harris and the ABC moderators David Muir and Lindsay Davis. Here are 5 moments the biased moderators turned on Trump. The debate opened with David Muir asking Kamala Harris if Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago. But instead of answering the question, Kamala Harris claimed she was raised in a middle-class family and then went on to say she has a plan for Americans, but didn't provide details of that plan.
No plan, and she was raised by a college professor and a biologist. Berkeley, teenage years in Canada. It's just completely false to think that she was middle-class, blue-collar worker.
Moderators didn't push back on this non-answer.
Vice President.
She also didn't mention McDonald's. Anyone catch that? Because it's BS.
President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid.
Abortion and reproductive rights was also a major talking point in the debate where the moderators showed bias. Lindsay Davis presented a long-winded monologue on abortion designed to present Trump unfavorably instead of simply asking a question.
We can't forget the abortion monologue from Lindsay, a woman of color, who decided to use her position as a debate moderator as a platform for abortion rights. Remember, she is a moderator at a presidential debate. See how long it takes her to actually get to a question in this abortion monologue.
Turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade, that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Davis then falsely claimed there is no state it is legal to kill a baby after birth, despite VP pick Tim Walz's state of Minnesota, Colorado, and 4 other states allowing abortions right up until the moment of birth in the 9th month.
Yeah, and that's what Trump said, in the 9th month, right? Which, unbelievable. That's basically the term, right?
Walz also repealed a requirement to provide life-saving care to infants born alive after abortions, according to Charlie Kirk. Trump was then forced to press Harris on her stance on late-term abortions because the moderators refused to push for an answer from the VP.
You should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that?
Come on, man.
Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you?
Commentators on X slammed the vice president and the moderators after this clear bias. Kamala Harris tried to interrupt Trump after he called her out on supporting defund the police, despite this being against the debate rules. The moderators did not stop her. Instead, it was up to Trump to use her own line against herself.
Yeah, Trump was fact-checking Kamala because the biased moderators wouldn't do it.
Or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute, I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
The moderators have also been widely criticized for only fact-checking Donald Trump and not Kamala Harris. Muir also attempted to fact-check Trump on claims of animal cruelty in the immigrant community, which instantly backfired on him.
Verify here, you bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food.
Why'd you kill the cat? Smile for me. Smile with your teeth. Go like this. Did you eat that cat? Did you eat it? No, why'd you kill it? Did you guys see all this?
No, we pulled up and she was just laying there with it.
Did you see her eating it?
Eating it.
She was eating it?
Yeah, she was.
They're in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck and cutting their head off and walking off with them and eating them. Like, y'all get the Highway State Patrol down here every week, and then y'all get like a task force for the Highway State Patrol.
Harris peddled the Charlottesville lie that was debunked by Snopes with absolutely no questioning by the moderators. And again, there was no fact-checking by the moderators when Harris pushed the also debunked January 6 bloodbath lie.
She just completely slandered him, said that he incited the violence on January 6th. Honestly, I cannot freaking believe they got away with this. I mean, it's supposed to be moderation. Now, my thought on this is maybe have a right-leaning moderator and a left-leaning moderator, and they both get to ask tough questions to their respective opposing candidates, right? This was just two liberals on the side of Kamala, and they still got destroyed. Trump actually looks so strong because they have 3v1. They look so weak trying to team up on him, and he pulled through.
Commentator Clay Travis blasted the moderators, saying, "Now the bloodbath lie too. No fact checks. This is shameful." And commentator Kayleigh McEnany also unleashed on the moderators, demanding that they do their job and fact check. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene also ripped into the biased moderators, saying, "My phone is lighting up with non-stop messages about how extremely biased ABC is during this debate. ABC is a disgrace."
So here we are after one of the most consequential debates in history, Liz, talking about whether or not immigrants are eating cats. Although the bigger point, of course, was that they fact-checked him real quick. But Trump was right. There were reports in the media, as we've shown. We've only shown a few.
Yes, and quite a few of the fact checks, which, by the way, were only ever levelled at Trump. Kamala wasn't fact-checked once, despite the fact that she repeated hoaxes that have been debunked several times, pumped out propaganda with the regularity of some kind of robot, and would repeat lies even after Trump, in the debate, had completely denied, say, the Project 25 thing, which he's disavowed several times before the debate. She kept bringing it up even after he said, "Excuse me, I have nothing to do with it. I've never endorsed it. That's not a thing," on the Trump train.
Yeah, Project 2025 has been around since the Reagan administration. It's a group of guidelines, a kind of buffet for a Republican candidate to sample from, some Republican ideals from a think tank. It is not Trump's agenda, whatever the left might try to make you think.
Watching this today, a lot of people were very excited and quite enamoured by the fact that Kamala did so well. I would argue she didn't do so well. It's just that your expectations were so low, you were legitimately blown away. But
okay, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I don't have proof of this. I believe she got the questions beforehand. The moderators were so much into her pocket. That has to be the truth, right? Also, you never really saw her right ear. Could there have been an earpiece in there? She was coherent. I mean, barely coherent to the point where she wasn't doing as many word salads and hyena laughs. So, yes, she was coherent, but I strongly believe she knew the questions beforehand, and it was 3v1. Of course, she's going to do better than if it was just her and Trump in a unbiased format.
we can stop calling this a debate and just call it an infomercial, because that's what it is. Everyone was like, oh, Kamala was actually so confident. It's easy to be confident when the person in charge of the ABC is a very good personal friend of yours. And it was very clear that this debate was 3 against 1 when you include these moderators, which did a horrendous job at hiding any bias. I don't even think they were trying. Certainly certainly that was very, very obvious. And I would have been confident if I was Kamala too, knowing that the woman who set me up with my now husband, that's how good of friends, her name is Dana Walden, is at the ABC. I would have been very confident too, knowing I was in very safe hands.
Trump went behind enemy lines, took on 3v1. It only made him look stronger as a president. When Kamala was asked if she'd ever met Putin, she just simply didn't answer the question. Oh, I met Zelensky 5 times. Who gives a shit?
I'm disgusted. I'm ashamed of those moderators at ABC News. They did exactly what their bosses wanted them to do. The person who runs ABC News is a close personal friend of Kamala Harris, that is responsible for Kamala Harris and her husband meeting. And they did Dana Walden's bidding tonight. It was 3 against 1.
Now, if Kamala really had the cojones, she would do an interview on Fox News with Fox News moderators. But we all know she's too scared. She's too scared. RFK Jr. also chimed in about the bias.
We had moderators who were clearly biased, who were constantly fact-checking Donald Trump. But none of these kind of whoppers that the vice president was saying, and none of her failure to really explain that, answer that first question, that very, very critical first question. They simply sat there on the sidelines and allowed that to pass.
You know, I think we still don't know who Kamala Harris is or what she plans to do. I didn't hear once a detailed description of what she was going to implement to make families' lives better, how she was going to make their groceries more affordable, gas prices drop, and allow them more opportunities into the future. So that's
Okay, so she offered the child tax credit, $6,000 for car seats and diapers. What was it? $50,000 for small businesses, $25,000 for tuition. I might be remembering that incorrectly. Basically, she said, we're going to give you money. You know how we ruined the economy and made things unaffordable, like groceries and gas and rent and everything else? We'll just give you more money. We're just going to print more money, and that'll all go away. The economy will recover.
That's what's shocking to me, is these moderators never once pushed her, never once fact-checked her, even when she misspoke and when she lied. And it was pretty strange to watch that dynamic go down. I feel like the American people still at the end of this debate don't really know what Kamala Harris would do. And the next question should have been, if you're going to do that, why not do that today? Prove it. You have 2 months, you have 50 days here to prove to the American people you are who you say you are.
So Ben Shapiro talked about this too, that Trump should have led with that. Like, why haven't you done this yet? But he saved it for his closing remarks. I think that was wise, because that's what settled and that's what stayed with people after the debate. Those were the final remarks. He won the coin toss. He was able to choose to give the closing remarks.
Do it. You're in charge. And nobody challenged her on that. She should have been.
When you say nobody challenged her on that, shouldn't that have been Donald Trump's job to challenge her on some of those things? We were talking.
Shouldn't it have been the moderator's job to ask unbiased questions and not give monologues and not fact check only Trump?
Hear about the fact that, coming into this, Donald Trump's goal was to tie Kamala Harris to what Republicans view as failures in this administration, right? And that would include immigration,
what Republicans view as failures. How about an all-time high inflation rate, all-time high price of gas? I don't know how Republicans only see these as failures.
Inflation, et cetera. But it did seem throughout that Donald Trump came back to the grievances again, rather than focusing more on the future and in part.
Well, she obviously baited him to try to get a reaction out of him. That much is clear. He took the bait, I think, a little bit too much, if we're being honest, but he held his own against 3v1.
On the administration, do you think it's a fair criticism?
He needed to make a case tonight and drive home the point of that he has a record. When he was in the White House, what he did to make families' lives better, how he passed tax reform that put more money in their pockets, what he did to secure the border, and how strong he was on the national and the world stage. He reminded the American people of all of that, and right now, Kamala Harris is in charge of this country, and their lives have dramatically declined. You've seen American families suffering. Now, every three Americans today has their credit cards maxed out. I mean, can you even imagine? Not only are they relying on credit cards to pay their bills, they're maxed out and they have no other option left. That's how far it's declined in this country, and that's what we don't know. How is Kamala Harris going to fix that, and why isn't she doing it today when she actually is in charge?
You're making a compelling case. Do you think that Donald Trump made that compelling case tonight?
You know, I think President Trump did a great job talking about his accomplishments and what he wants to do if given the opportunity to serve as President of the United States again.
The best line so far. Trump was telling Kamala, today, right now, you could go sign a bill to close the border. Wake up Biden at 4 p.m. in the afternoon when he wakes up. Anyway, leave a comment down below. Who do you think won? I know the American people lost because of such biased moderators. This was essentially a campaign ad for Harris from her pals over at ABC News. Please consider subscribing to Conservative Vibes. I'm CV, and I'll see you in the next video.